After speaking to hundreds of contractors, every single one of them goes to Google Ads for their first source of paid traffic. And I'm going to be telling you exactly why that can potentially be the biggest mistake you are making inside of your home service company, whether that's waterproofing, foundation repair, concrete, crawl spaces, roofing, landscaping, whatever it may be. Going to Google Ads first and foremost before having any of the proper systems in place or exhausting other channels, which I'm going to go over here, could be the biggest mistake you make inside of your business. But when these things are taken into account and things are set up properly, setting up Google Ads can be the most profitable and most consistent source of paid traffic and lead flow in general for your business to add on multi seven figures a year in revenue. And so we're going to be covering LSA, local service ads, versus Google search ads, when to run one of them, both of them, or neither, and just leave them in the back burner for now. Every agency is probably going to tell you just to run both, LSA and Google search. And in about half of the markets I look at, that advice and following that advice is going to be bleeding 4,000 to 8,000 a month for essentially zero extra jobs. Just even a couple weeks ago, I spoke to a business where they were running $5,000 a month in Google Ads and they had no clue what that was even generating them because they had no systems. And so I promise by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly when to run LSA, when to run Google search ads, when to run both, and just as important, when running either is just going to be lighting money on fire. And so one of the most recent companies we worked with, they came to us and said, hey, should we run Google Ads? And they were barely really running. They weren't running any paid traffic. They had a couple jobs coming through a month. They were very small, just organic jobs coming through. And they spent $3,100 on Meta ads and made 65 grand in the first month. Because without the right systems, Google Ads would have probably burned most of that $3,000. But instead, we knew to put it into Meta because we've done this so many times. And we generated them over a 20x return in the first month. And then they've gone on to now make well over like 180 grand over the 3 months working with us so far. And so this is going to be what I'm covering, explaining the importance of it. And so DrySpace was capped at about 65K a month with one channel. And so this is what we got them to with just one paid channel. So they were doing none before. This is excluding their organic revenue that they're doing, but majority of the jobs they're getting are from our paid media that we're running. And so DrySpace was capped at about 65K a month on one channel, and their agency wanted to both SSA, or their company wanted to run both LSA and search. And so they're a perfect case to walk through because they came to us and said, hey, should we run Google Ads? And we will always start with Meta in these cases because if you don't have the right Google presence, you don't have the right SEO set up, you don't have the volume of reviews, the quality, just the presence online under your Google business profile, Google's not going to be the best way to go. But Meta is the channel that gets so many leads, such quick traffic coming through, such a great return as you can see here. And it also allows us to get more eyeballs on the organic side to build up those reviews, build up the SEO over time so that when we do run Google, boom, it's printing money immediately. And so DrySpace is the perfect case to walk through because the obvious next move, which would be LSA and search, was actually the wrong first move for them. And here's how we made that call initially. So the exact question that DrySpace owner asked us, paraphrased a little bit because it was months ago, was, do I run LSA, search, both, or neither? And because most companies come to us, and Meta's not even in the realm of what they want to run, it's always Google related. And so they said every agency I talked to said run both. One quoted me like 3K a month management plus 10K in ad spend across LSA and search, right? I don't even know if my market can absorb that. How do I actually decide? That's a very valid question, which you should be asking. And this exact decision is a decision every home service owner between 1 and 10 million gets wrong, because run both is the default agency answer, right? Not the right one, because every agency wants to be managing as many channels as possible so they get paid the most, right? So they're going to say run all of them, which is most likely, unless the company, the only time we will run all of these channels, Meta, Google Search, Google LSA at once, is if the business is meeting the right criteria on their organic side and they're at least doing 3 to 5 million a year, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense. Now, the mechanics that break most decisions. Local service ads firstly charges you per lead. So if you aren't aware of this, they charge you per lead, which makes it unique compared to really any other channel. And so search charges you per click. That's why it's called pay-per-click, PPC, which you've probably heard. And that one difference changes everything downstream. Google LSA, you pay per lead. A phone call or a message from a homeowner, and you only pay for qualified leads. You get refunded if the lead was terrible. Google decides who qualifies as a lead, and they refund the bad ones. No keywords, no ad copy, no landing pages. Google matches intent for you. Ranked by proximity, reviews, response rate, and Google guaranteed status, which is why it's so important to have this established before we run those ads. Because if you just go right to LSA and you have none of this, and you have like 5 reviews, you're going to be burning a lot of money, and that money would be much better spent on the Meta side. And the parts that's deceiving is that you might run a bit without any of this stuff in place. You might run Google local service ads and you might get a positive return. Maybe you get a 3x return and you think, oh, this is amazing. But little did you know, that if you had the system set up properly, you would be getting a 10, 12, 15x return. And so you might think that 3x is great because you're profitable, but if that money was spent on meta ads for now, you probably get a 10, 15x return. And then when Google made more sense to do because you had the reviews, you had the Google guaranteed status, all of that stuff, then you would be getting a 8, 10x return on Google, and you would have been in a much better spot, which I see very often. And so it's very hard to tell a business owner who's profitable on their ads that, hey, you can be making more and this isn't the best decision, because they're profitable, so they don't want to switch that, right? When in reality, they could be making a lot more, which is why it's important to have this knowledge. Now, on the Google search ads side, is you pay per click, right? Whether they call, whether they bounce, whether they disappear, whatever, which is why it's a bit more expensive. But you pick the keywords, you write the ad, you build the landing pages or the website pages. You can target searches like water and basement at 2 a.m., which LSA can't isolate to that degree. You're ranked by bid times quality score, so you can outsmart bigger competitors. And it optimizes for intent. You decide which searches are worth paying for. Bottom line, LSA is a volume game. Search is an intent game. Search is going to be a little bit more expensive, but you're usually going to get much higher quality leads. LSA is going to be a little bit more, a little cheaper, but you get a lot more volume. They're both great to run together. When we're running them together, we usually do a 70-30 or 80-20 split, with the larger portion going towards Google search. So if you confuse these two, and you'll pick the wrong channel for your market pretty much every single time. Now, step 1, the market saturation test. If your zip code is 8+ Google guaranteed competitors, local service ads becomes a coin flip. And so, step 1, search for your top 3 service keywords from an incognito browser in your service area, like crawl space encapsulation near me, basement waterproofing Pittsburgh, foundation repair in New Jersey, or foundation repair, Knoxville, Tennessee, whatever, right? Use a VPN or physically drive to the edge of your service area to check density. Probably VPN, unless you want to drive. But count the Google guaranteed LSA slots that appear at the top. That's step 2. The Google guaranteed slots. 3 or fewer competitors equals a green light. LSA will get you top of the page pretty much every time. 4 to 7 competitors equals yellow. LSA works, but you'll be, rotating, not dominating. 8+ competitors equals red. You're paying to be one of many. Leads get split thin. So if you search something, you'll see Google local service ads is at the top. And it's usually you'll usually see top 2 websites, right? Usually the ones that are the highest. And then you'll see a drop down. You open that drop down, you'll probably see a lot of them. But nobody's clicking those. Everybody's clicking one of the top 2, which is why it's so important to be the top 2. If you're 10th, it's no different than being on like page 3 of Google, right? You're not going to get the volume you want. Then step 3 is check the review count on the top 3 LSA ranked competitors. If the leaders have 200+ reviews and you have 40, LSA rank will punish you for a while, right? 6 to 12 months till you catch up. In that gap, search ads let you buy your way into the page today. This is why we start with Meta if the company doesn't have reviews, because reviews are easy to get. We have the right systems to get reviews very effectively. And if you're not getting reviews from every estimate or every job, or at least trying to, that's the lowest hanging fruit. Get Google review business cards, leave them at every estimate, every job, and you will see reviews pick up quite quickly. And you can set up review systems, which we send out after every job. So every text and emails after every job, every estimate, to get reviews. And this will massively increase the reviews. Like, we have some guys that are getting hundreds of reviews a year. And so it can pick up very quickly. And then that's all it takes to be able to run LSA. So Meta kind of supplements you for now, getting you a great return. You're still going to be making a ton of money, getting great results as long as it's done properly. But you're also building up the reviews so that when you do run LSA, you're in a great spot. And then you can even run Google search ads beforehand, as you can see here, so that you buy your way onto the top of the page today. Now, the invisible ceiling nobody talks about. In most home service markets, LSA will usually tap out between $8K to $15K a month, depending on the population density and how big the city is. If you're in a major city, it'll be a lot higher. It'll be closer to the $15K mark. If you're in a less populated city, probably closer to the $8K mark. After that, leads dry up no matter how much you bid, because just you spending more doesn't all of a sudden make there be more searches for these certain topics, right? And so if you're a small metro, population less than 250K, 3K to 5K a month is enough. Mid metro, right, 250K to a million population, 8 to 10K cap. Large metro, 1 million to 3 million, 12 to 15K a month cap. Major metro, 3 million plus, you can push it a little bit. There's not that many big cities that have 3 million plus, right? But if you are, 18 to 22K. LSA is inventory constrained. There are only so many people searching waterproofing near me this week, right? Especially if it's not raining. Or for those specific searches, you spending more doesn't all of a sudden make more searches appear, right? Once you're taking the majority of that inventory, dumping more budget in doesn't buy more leads. Search ads have no such cap because you control the keywords, right? You control all of it. And that's also why I like Meta, because we're getting people on the opposite side of the intent, right? Where they're problem aware, but they're not actively searching for the solution, but when they see the ad, it makes them realize, oh, I should probably get this taken care of. And that's why Meta with these is so amazing. And Meta, you really only need like 3 to 5K a month. We'll very rarely ever go above 5-6K a month on Meta. Now, where search ads earn their keep. Emergency intent keywords, right? LSA physically cannot isolate for keywords like this. This is why the search ads take over in this domain. So you can see if the homeowner searches water in basement, LSA is not going to be taking this. It's going to be bundled into the generic result, right? Where search ads can target water and basement specifically, right? This exact keyword. So 3 a.m. panic search, right? That's why it's important. If somebody's 3 a.m. searching water in my basement, they will probably book the same day. Basement flooded, what to do? These searches will not show up. Foundation crack getting bigger. Crawl space smells musty. These will not show up for local service ads. Local service ads will just show up generically. Whereas for search ads, it will show up for this specifically. Here, basement waterproofing near me. This is where local service ads can target these because that's really just the one keyword that local service ads does well is the near me types of searches where it will just generically show the local service ads that most likely are the ones who can help with that type of issue. And then foundation repair cost, yes, right? But you can also do negatives with this because there's negative keywords as well, right? Ones you don't want to show up for where it might be price shoppers or just, it's bad intent leads overall. That's why it's really important to do the keyword research when you're setting up Google ads. If your close rate on emergency intent calls is 40+%, which it will usually be when it's that serious of an emergency, right? It'll usually be a much higher conversion rate. Search ads on these keywords will outperform LSA on cost per closed job, even if the cost per lead is 3 times higher, right? We'll usually see cost per lead on search ads be much higher, $300, $400 per lead, but there's such high intent that the close rate is usually so much higher that it's still, you get a better cost per closed job than a lot of other channels. Now, we recommend LSA first, search second because their close rate was strong, but review count wasn't LSA dominant yet. And this is for dry space, right? And so we're actually in the process right now. We've been running Meta for them for a few months, just started doing the SEO side for them because we got them a great return on the Meta. They have a bit more disposable cash to play with. The next step will be LSA for them, or will be LSA first, search second. And so here we can see month 1 to 2 is going to be LSA only, capped at 3K a month. We always start at 3K a month for ads, regardless of the channel, $100 a day. We test whether their yellow zone market could produce booked estimates at a workable cost per estimate, simultaneously push reviews from every closed job targeting that 100+ Google review threshold. Then step 2 is month 3, layer in the search ads on emergency intent keywords only. 5 keyword themes, right? Flooded basement, foundation crack, crawl space water, wet basement, sump pump failure, etc. These guys are crawl space specific, so it'll be a lot more crawl space related, foundation related stuff. Everything else negative matched to our to protect the budget. And also if it's services that are adjacent, but we don't do those services like waterproofing, if it's a crawl space company exclusively or foundation repair company exclusively, and they don't necessarily do certain waterproofing services, you want to have negative keywords for those. Month 4 is scale whichever channel is producing the lowest cost per closed job, not cost per lead, the lowest cost per closed job, which again is another big thing home service companies focus on a lot is cost per lead, whereas that's all they care about is cost per lead. But at the end of the day, cost per closed job is the most important metric and the return on ad spend overall. And so you can see here, Dry Space's 3-month window, they spent $12,135 on Meta ads, closed $128,622 in revenue, 10.6x ROAS, 57 booked estimates, and now it's time to add in the Google side because they are starting to build up the reviews, get a bit more of that presence. And once we get the SEO picked up a little more, we'll be launching the Google ads. Now, the mistake we see every week, right? When you run both Google search ads and Google local service ads, without shared negatives and geo-layering, LSA and search, they cannibalize each other and you pay twice as much for the same leads and you will just be in a much, much worse spot. And this is something that's completely overlooked by most companies because they just try to set it up and get leads coming through. Now, the broken setup, which is also what most agencies do. LSA running wide open across all services and all zip codes, regardless of where it is, just all the areas the company services. Search ads, bidding on basement waterproofing near me, the same query that LSA already covers. And so no shared negative keyword list, right? Search burns budget on branded and LSA native terms. If the search is going to show up for Google search ads, we don't need it to show up for Google or if it's showing up for Google local service ads, we don't need to show up for Google search ads as well, because then we're just paying for the same search. The same landing page phone number on both. There's no way to attribute which channel closed the job, so we don't know if this lead that closed or job that closed is from LSA or Google search ads. We need to have them differentiated. Result, 2 invoices, 1 lead pool, 0 incremental revenue. The right setup, LSA handles broad, near me types of searches in category intent where it's cheaper per lead. Search ads exclude those exact queries via a shared negative lead list or search list. Search only bids on emergency intent plus long tail LSA can't isolate. Geo-layering, all right? So LSA in your dense core zip codes. Search extends into fringe zip codes LSA underserves in. And so there's going to be areas that the LSA is not going to be as focused on, and we want the Google search to scoop up the remaining leads in that area. And of course, we want to separate call tracking numbers per channel. This is very straightforward. Use CallRail, where you have a different phone number for every channel that all forwards back to your main number. And this way you can attribute real cost per call, cost per closed job, cost per lead across the different lead sources. Both channels working together works, but only if you've drawn the line between what each one is allowed to buy. Otherwise, you are paying Google twice for the same homeowner. Now, answer these 4 questions and you'll know exactly which channel to prioritize this quarter. What's your annual revenue? Under 1 million, pick one channel and master it. I like Meta first, but there's a lot that goes into it. If you don't have an agency handling it, like us, we have a team of 4 people just for Meta. So if you don't have that, it's usually going to be LSA if your reviews are strong enough, search if they aren't strong enough. 1 to 3 million is going to be LSA led because you're most likely going to have enough reviews. Search on emergency terms. 3 mil plus, run both with clean separation. Number 2, how saturated is your LSA market? 0 to 3 Google guaranteed competitors in your top zip code, then LSA first aggressively. 4 to 7, right? If you have 4 to 7 Google guaranteed competitors, then it's going to be LSA plus search hybrid. And if you have 8 or more Google guaranteed competitors, search first. Use LSA only in fringe zips where density is lowest. Now, number 3, what's your review count versus the top 3 competitors? Are you within 30% of those leaders? Do they have 100 reviews and you have like 70, 80? Or do they have 500 and you have 100, right? If you're within 30% of the leaders, LSA will rank you pretty solidly. If you're more than 50% behind them, search ads buys you presence today while you build your reviews for the next 6 to 12 months. And meta and review campaigns are going to be the biggest thing to build your reviews. If you have thousands of leads, thousands of old customers, you can pretty much immediately get dozens and dozens of extra reviews coming through just by sending out a simple reactivation review campaign. Now, number 4, what's your close rate on emergency versus planned jobs? And if you aren't tracking this, you're going to be in a tough spot. If emergency intent calls close 2 times more than planned jobs, which they usually will, search ads on emergency keywords will out-earn LSA per dollar, even at higher cost per lead. 3 or 4 search favors answers, lead with search. 3 or 4 LSA favors, lead with LSA. Split down the middle, your hybrid market, and the separation rules from the last slide are non-negotiable. Now, if your speed of lead is over 5 minutes, running on either channel is essentially just lighting money on fire. Speed of lead is going to be the biggest thing. If leads are coming through your Google search ads, or if they're calling in from your local service ads, and you're not answering that immediately, you're lighting money on fire, and you should not be running ads at all. And so that's the hardest pill to swallow. Is a lot of companies, they'll say, yeah, my speed to lead's good, and it's an hour. That's not good. It needs to be under 5 minutes. You will have, there's so many studies, I reference this in so many videos because of how important it is. Called with under 5 minutes, you have a 21 times chance to get in contact with that lead and actually get a hold of them and book them into an estimate and convert them. That's a huge difference. You need to be leveraging this. This is the easiest thing to do. You don't need to know how to run ads to call people immediately, right? It's very easy. Now, the repeatable system, the audit density, match channel to intent, separate the budgets and scale the winners, right? Step 1, audit market density. Like I said, incognito search on 3 keywords across 5 core zips. Count LSA competitors plus benchmark review counts. Then step 2, match channel to intent. Before spending any dollars, LSA equals broad category plus those near me searches. Waterproofing near me, crawl-space companies near me. Search equals emergency intent plus long tail plus fringe zips. Step 3, build the separation infrastructure, shared negative keywords list. And this is going to come down to review, searching for review keywords, reviewing the keywords list, the searches of volume per month across these keywords, which is stuff we do for the companies as well. Because as you can see, there's a lot that goes into this if you want to do it effectively. Separate call tracking numbers per channel. You need that immediately. Landing page for search. LSA does not need one. Step 4, measure cost per closed job, not cost per lead. Still, you want to measure cost per lead, but cost per closed job is the most important metric. Cost per closed job is lower than these other channels. That is the winning channel, regardless of what the cost per lead, cost per estimate is. The channel with the lowest cost per closed job gets the next 1K you're adding to your budget. LSA is your volume floor. Search is your intent ceiling, and running both only works if you separate them cleanly. Take a look at this here. This is a final review of what you should be doing. If you have 0 LSA competitors, 100 plus reviews, run LSA. Search is optional. Run both, not needed yet. 4 to 7 LSA competitors, 50 plus reviews. Run LSA on emergency terms only for search. Yes with separation. 8 plus LSA competitors behind on reviews, small budget LSA. Yes, lead here. Search heavy hybrid. This is where we'd run probably an 80-20 split. 80 of the budget on search, 20 on LSA. Any market, speed to lead over 40 minutes or over 5 minutes, don't run any ads, fix the pipeline first. Under $1 million in revenue, pick one of these and master it. I typically recommend Meta over Google for these if you're under $1 million, because you just need quick cash coming through. Now, if you want us to run this exact audit on your market, density check, review benchmark, channel recommendation, and the separation architecture, if you're running both, the link is in the description. We do it for waterproofing, crawl space, foundation repair contractors doing over $1 million plus a year. We can really do it for any home service business because the systems are the same. One shop per service area, so lock yours in before someone in your zip code takes it. I hope this helped you a lot on the Google Ads side. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments.